Wenn ihr mehr wissen wollt über die transzendentale Wissenschaft des Krishna-Bewusstseins, dann kann ich euch den Bhakti Club empfehlen. Wir haben nun eine neue Plattform, auf der ich exklusive Inhalte anbiete, wie Videos und Kurse und eine digitale Sadhu-Sangha. Geht einfach auf www.bhakti-club.de und registriert euch dort. Dann könnt ihr Einlass bekommen in eine spirituelle, digitale Welt. Ich freue mich auf eure Gemeinschaft. Hare Krishna.
Therefore, let us consider how these two contaminated persons should be punished. Their punishment should be apt, for thus benefit can eventually be bestowed upon them. Since they find duality in the existence of Vaikuntha life, they are contaminated and should be removed from this place to the material world, where the living entities have three kinds of enemies. Purport. The reason why pure souls come into the existential circumstances of the material world, which is considered to be the criminal department of the Supreme Lord, is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter verse 27. It is stated that as long as a living entity is pure, he is in complete harmony with the desires of the Supreme Lord. But as soon as he becomes impure, he is in disharmony with the desires of the Lord. By contamination, he is forced to transfer to this material world, where the living entities have three enemies, namely desire, anger, and lust. These three enemies force the living entities to continue material existence, and when one is free from them, he is eligible to enter the kingdom of God. One should not therefore be angry in the absence of an opportunity for sense gratification, and one should not be lusty to acquire more than necessary. In this verse, it is clearly stated that the two doormen should be sent into the material world, where criminals are allowed to reside. Since the basic principles of criminality are sense gratification, anger, and unnecessary lust, persons conducted by these three enemies of the living entity are never promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. People should learn Bhagavad Gita and accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the Lord of everything. They should practice satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord instead of trying to satisfy their own senses. Training in Krishna consciousness will help one be promoted to Vaikuntha. Om Gyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshumilityam Minatasmai Shri Gurve Namah Mukham Karoti Vajanam Pangung Langaitigam Yat Kripadamang Vande Shri Gurundinathanam Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Vena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadatsodantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Nicht so da sitzen. Füße anziehen. Aber wenn es Füße. Ja, also. Aber wenn es schwierig ist für dich, du kannst auf dem Stuhl sitzen. Hare Krishna. So, therefore let us consider how these two contaminated persons should be punished. The punishment should be apt, for thus benefit can eventually be bestowed upon them. Since they find duality in the existence of Vaikuntha life, they are contaminated and should be removed from this place to the material world, where the living entities have three kinds of enemies. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada refers in this verse to the 27th verse of the 7th chapter and gives a quite, great importance to this verse in regard to the enigmatic question of the reason for the existence or the existence of a spiritual soul in a material realm. As enigmatic, because it's a mystery, it's an enigma, right? It's something, a riddle, hard to understand, a topic where many Vedic sages and actually all religions who have an understanding of a spiritual realm and a material realm are wondering how it could happen. So Prabhupada's take in general is centered around the free will, so to say, free will, like this explanation, so that this living entity, the reason for the living entity's existence in the material world is the misuse of a free will, so that it was originally in a spiritual world, but decided because of, as it said also here, contamination. Yeah, so this is also the downside for this argument, more or less, because why and where is contamination coming in an uncontaminated world? But the contamination is not in that sense in the spiritual world. We could more or less say it's a reaction for the misuse of true free will. So what is the reason for the for the decision to come to the material world? Was it free will? I want to come to the material world, and then comes the contamination, or comes the contamination and then comes the decision? So this is the problem. I don't know if anyone can answer that. Maybe afterwards we can discuss that. But I think this is more or less the where the explanation is lacking. But other explanations have other flaws, and so we will not have a perfect solution for the problem, and different schools and traditions and also inside Vaishnava tradition have different takes on it, but we follow Prabhupada's take, and in that sense it is the more it's also more how to say, it's a more loving in one sense, yeah, because it was our mistake. It was not Krishna kicking us out. It was not, we are not eternally condemned. We decided. And we see also in this situation that a fall is possible, yeah, and there's also a contamination. We can also wonder, where's this coming from? So this is, of course, a difficult topic, but this is how Prabhupada this is Prabhupada's take on it. And Prabhupada gives even a shastric reference to this problem. And he says here, it's Bhagavad Gita, 27th verse of the 7th chapter. Prabhupada says, the reason why pure souls come into the existence circumstance of the material world, which is considered to be the criminal department of Supreme Lord, is stated in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, verse 27. Which is quite powerful. He means, like, here you have Shastra giving the answer to this problem, right? So, what is this verse? What is this verse? It's Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata sarva putani samoham sarge yanti parantapa. 27. And Acharyas, different Acharyas, some go so far to say it was this Icha dvesha, which meaning the desire and the aversion, which is the reason for this, the moha, the illusion, which illusions the soul. This happened in the beginning. And the word in this verse is sarge. Sarge yanti parantapa. Sarge means in the beginning of creation. So, okay, quite far back, but when was it exactly? So Prabhupada refers, no, it was actually in the spiritual situation, okay. I think Madhvacharya goes also quite far back, but okay, this is a different topic. Maybe I don't want to go into this too much, but now take it more for the practical side. Because this is, when it happened, might be a different discussion, a different study, but at least we know this is the reason, this verse gives us the reason why we are illusioned, why we're in the material world, how it happened, and this, as Prabhupada says here also in the purport, people should study Bhagavad Gita to understand it. Yeah? So we should study Bhagavad Gita to understand it, because we should wonder, when we hear all the time that we are not the body, but a soul, which is quite an amazing information, to be a spiritual soul, which is indestructible, eternal, full of consciousness, bliss, free, wise, like perfect. We are perfect living entities. But right now, so far away from this experience, we should really, really wonder what's going on. And for this, as Prabhupada says here, that we should take the help of Bhagavad Gita and study Bhagavad Gita and see it also in practical terms, meaning understand how are the principles of Bhagavad Gita working in my life. How are they working in my life? How can I really see this wisdom, or how can this wisdom enlighten my life so that I can make better decisions, act in a better way to reach quicker this self-realization. Okay. Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata. This is this verse, a quite famous verse. Prabhupada quotes it quite often. So what's said here is that all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities, arisen from desire and hate. Okay. So the reason for the illusion are the dualities which come from desire and hate. So this is our problem. That we are in this illusion, we're illusioned, where we categorize our life according what we want and what we don't want. And we're always absorbed, thinking, acting in this way. This is the illusion. That we are in connection with the material world, attracted by it, and averse to it. But it's always the material world which is our concern. Either we like it or we don't like it. And so we are always in illusion about our true self. So this has to be given up. We have to be free from attraction to the material world. Meaning it should not be of any interest. Right? It shouldn't be of any interest. We should not be wanting things, and we should not hate things. These are the two sides. Right? We should not be, greedy. I will come to this also later. Prabhupada said this also. And we should not be. Prabhupada said this we should not. What she said. One should not therefore be angry in the absence of an opportunity for sense gratification, and one should not be lusty to acquire more than necessary. Yeah, normally we are sometimes even angry if we don't get what we want. For sense gratification, we are angry like small children. If you take away their toy, they can be really, really angry. It's so irrational, but we are the same. We are also irrational. And when we don't get what we want, we are upset and sometimes even angry. It's interesting. Why are we doing like that? Actually, it's not rational. You want and you don't get, and you get angry. So we are bewildered. We are not ourselves. And this is what we should be. We should be wise. We should be ourselves. We should be free of this. We should not be so easily triggered. If someone pushes this button, ding, 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 suddenly we act like a robot. Right? And we cannot help it even. We are victims of our own emotions. Very often we are victims of our own emotions, and through this we act in a certain way. Especially anger, right? If you are angry, you do things which you normally wouldn't do. And very often, at least, we regret it afterwards. Isn't it? It's rare, especially for a devotee, that he doesn't regret it when he was angry and was cursing people or being really nasty. Most of the time we say, oh sorry, it was not good what I did. When we come back to our real consciousness. But when we're victim of this emotion, we are like triggered, we are pushed by it, especially all of them. But anger, right? You can easily be completely disrespectful. You have no problem of calling someone all kinds of things. Even devotees sometimes. Or at least sometimes we are more cultured, we don't say it, but we think it. we will not say it, we know a Vaishnava parade or something, but we know in Kali Yuga you can think whatever you like, you get no reaction for it, so I think all kinds of curses. I can hate you in my mind as much as I like. And I can torture you and everything. And it's completely okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Even though you might not get reactions, but it will affect our being and will one day come out in some way. So anger, right? You do all kinds of things. You curse. You let it out. You stomp your feet. You are loud. You hit something. You hit someone. You want to hit someone. It's amazing, huh? How we are not ourselves. So, but it is a reaction for lust. Krishna says that also in Bhagavad Gita, in this famous verse, Kama Isha, Krodha Isha, Raja Guna Samuppa. When Arjuna asks, how can someone act in a way contrary to his self-interest? How can someone act in a bad way, even he knows it's bad, right? And Krishna says it's Kama, it's lust, which transforms into Krodha, into anger. It's the great, all-devouring enemy of the world, of the people. So, actually it's not anger, actually it's the lust. So it's always like this, lust, anger, lust, anger. You want something, you hate it. You want, you hate it. You want, you hate it. Huh? And this duality, this problem has to be overcome. This is one of the central messages of Bhagavad Gita, of Krishna, of yoga, to transcend the material world, which is working these dualities. And we are affected by it. And interesting, here it says sarge yanti parantapa. And sarge means like from the beginning. Sarga is also means creation. It's a word in Sanskrit for creation. Since the beginning, the living entity which entered into the material world is bewildered like that. And with every subsequent creation, every birth we take, we're again bewildered. We go from one bewilderment in the other one. And through our karma, we just create different kinds of bewilderments, life after life. And so we are binding ourselves to the material world because of all kinds of attachments. And we justify it with our personality. Because I'm like this, so I have this kind of style. I'm like this, so I have this kind of likes and dislikes. The likes and dislikes are kind of the composition of our personality. This is how I am. But this is illusion. Try to sing it. It's illusion. And we might think, okay, then I can dissolve the illusion if I go through it and understand, okay, my likes and dislikes are based on the false assumption of being this. My likes and dislikes are based on thinking to be something what I'm not. Okay, so I overcome all my likes and dislikes. No, you have to overcome the false identification. And so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we should cut with the sharp sword of detachment. What is it? Asanga, Shastrena, Tridena, Chitva, or something. Huh? What is it? Yeah, you know it, huh? Huh? Yeah, with the sharp sword of Asanga, Shastrena, Tridena, Chitva. Yeah, with the sharp sword of detachment, of Asanga. To detach, we cut the attachment and this illusion, which is like a tree, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, it's like a Ashwata tree. And it's a very fitting comparison, the comparison between the material world and this tree. It's a very special tree, because there's a tree, it's called Ashwata tree, a banyan tree in India, which grows in all kinds of directions, more or less. And and if it's a real developed tree like this, big tree, I heard once that these trees can grow into a whole forest, because they come out, they grow, and they have the branches, but out of the branches, they grow down back into the earth and make another trunk. Yeah? And this can happen very often, so you can have a whole forest coming from one tree. So then you can ask, where was the original tree? Where's the original trunk? You cannot say. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this material world is like this banyan tree. How is this verse starting? How about this the first verse, 15:1? How is it starting? Yeah, urdvang mulam adash akam ashvatang prahur avyam chandangsi yasya parnani yastang vedasa vedavit. That it is said there is a banyan tree, yeah, which has its what is it? Urdvam. It grows up. Yeah, it grows up. It has this branches downwards and grows upwards. Is it like that? And the leaves of the trees are the Vedic scriptures. And he who knows the tree, he knows the Vedas. Isn't it? Yastang Vedasa Vedavit. He who knows this tree, he knows the Vedas, meaning more or less he knows what is the material world. This tree is a comparison to the material world. So, and then it said, that the Sanskrit, how the objects of the senses are there, and all kinds of things of the tree are the material world. And then you might wonder, okay, how can I get out of this bewilderment of this tree? You don't know where's the beginning, where's the end. You're completely bewildered in this maze. And then Krishna says, with Asanga Shastrena Dridena Chitva, you should, with detachment, a sharp sword, a weapon of this detachment, you kind of cut the whole tree. It's not that you have to undo every problem you have, which is in one sense also an okay explanation. If you have many attachments and problems, this and that, in one sense you can cut the whole tree when you join the Hare Krishna movement, yeah, and shave up and become a devotee and drop the whole material existence, which for some can work and worked. For me it worked, but for some not. They are too bewildered and they have too much going on, and sometimes they need then some Freudian help and go to a psychoanalysis or something. But in general, Krishna says, no, don't go to psychoanalysis. Just drop it, forget it. Krishna is very radical in Bhagavad Gita in general. Very radical. You are not a body, you are a soul. Man, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? You're completely an illusion. You're running behind illusions. You run behind the will-o'-the-wisp. You heard? Will-o'-the-wisp? Prabhupada's phrase. The will-o'-the-wisp. He says it's like illusion. It's an old saying for illusion. A will-o'-the-wisp. Yeah, you run behind so many illusions. Wake up! Chief Jago, Chief Jago. Wake up, spirit soul. Sleeping spirit soul. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. We're sleeping on the lap of a witch called Maya. Very comfortably. Very comfortably. Because we don't know that this witch, Maya, is our enemy. There was once a witch. She lived in a forest. And her profession was to catch small children. And what was she doing with these small children? She was she fed them until they were fat. And then she ate them. This was her profession. And once there were two, a boy and a girl, walking through the forest. And this witch was magical, and she knew how to catch them, and she built a house out of cookies. A Lebkuchenhaus. Isn't it? A Lebkuchenhaus. And so this boy and this girl, their name was Hänsel und Gretel. I think it's one of the most famous, if not the most famous fairy tale in Europe probably. Hänsel und Gretel. Verliefen sich im Wald.
Even as an opera, you can see.
Yeah, it's an opera also. Yeah, they built an opera out of it. Who was it actually? Who did it?
Wie heißt der noch?
I forgot.
Humperdinck?
Oh, that's I don't know. Okay. Yeah, but I heard that there's an opera of it. Hänsel und Gretel, famous opera.
Knusper.
Knäuschen? Ja, Hänsel und Gretel verliefen sich im Wald. Es war so finster und so bitter kalt. Yeah, that was one line. Yeah, I remember. Knusper, knusper, Knäuschen. Wer knuspert an meinem Häuschen? The witch was saying. Because they were lost in the forest and suddenly they see this house out of cookies. Actually, it's such a dark story, right? And then you see this house of cookies and we are so hungry and it's so cold. And they went to the house and ate and they're so happy. Oh, it's so good. And this brother and sister, boy and girl, oh, it's so nice. And then the witch, knusper, knusper, Knäuschen, wer knuspert an meinem Häuschen? And come in, it's warm inside, it's beautiful, come in. And thank you so much. And they go in, it's warm, it's beautiful, it's nice. And they're sitting there and drinking and are happy. And then in the moment, the witch catches them and puts them in a cage. Hive you! And then she was taking care of them very nicely, giving every day something to eat, to feed them. And they got fat. But actually then they realized, she wants to kill us. And because every day she had said she couldn't see so well. So she said, give me your finger. And every day they had to give the finger and she was, not enough. Not enough. I have to feed you more. She was seeing if it's already fat, the finger's fat, but it was. And then the children were smart and they just gave some branch, some stick. Yeah, so they ate, they got fat, but they give some little stick. And she, it's not enough. Anyway, the story keeps on going. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes this point. We are like this, Hänsel und Gretel. In the beginning at least, then they realize. But he says, wake up, spirit soul. You're sleeping on the lap of a witch called Maya. And we are on this Maya lap and we are like, it's so cozy and warm, it's nice. And not realizing that this witch is just waiting, for the nice moment to kill us, to eat us. And this is the situation of the conditioned soul in the material world. We are sleeping in the lap of Maya in our nice cars. Oh, it's so cool, nice, cozy car, right? In a nice bed, in nice houses, in our nice sense gratification. A whole civilization on the lap of Maya. It is like this, and every moment, it can strike. And bewildered we are, and losing the chance for a human form of life and fall back to the lower living entities, in the realm of the lower living entities. So this is the illusions of our attachments and our hates, and this is all our personality. And so, Krishna says, just cut it with Asanga. Asanga means detachment. Let it go. And it's hard to let go, isn't it? It's so hard. The smallest things we are attached to. And you see this small little thing, whatever it might be, when you got it from her or from him, and so many remembrances are connected with it. Oh no, it's so beautiful. I cannot let it go. No, you're so dear to me. Oh. Throw it in the garbage. No, I cannot. And you throw, okay, I'm strong, I'm detached, I'm a yogi, I'm a sannyasi. You, Maya, nonsense, all this remembrance just will-o'-the-wisps. I see through you. I read Bhagavad Gita, I know everything, I talk with devotees. They talk me out of you. I don't need you anymore. Hare Krishna. You throw. The next moment, oh no, I didn't mean it. I did not mean it. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Forgive my fanaticism. All this back and forth. Especially in the beginning, when we join in this phase, that we have to weigh what do we need, what do we want. And then the small remembrance come back and they make us completely emotional. And we might cry in some corner where nobody can see us. Oh no. And it's completely irrational. Because one day anyway you have to let it go. When we die, we have to let it go. What you will do when you die? Will cry like a child? I don't want to go. Why this and that and you and her and him? Yeah. So, Asanga means detachment. Should let it go. Let's say especially these small nitty-gritty nonsense things. Especially this small nitty-gritty nonsense thing called false ego. Let it go. Very difficult. It's so difficult. Right? It's so difficult. Since time immemorial, we're entangled with this material world. It's a time immemorial. Yeah. But the process of Krishna consciousness is very powerful. It's very powerful to really do the job. If you take it serious, if you really, really take shelter, it's not so difficult. Yeah. Okay, so this was a bit to this verse. Huh? A very important verse. Prabhupada says we have to learn that so you remember something for today. Yeah? Verse 27 of Bhagavad Gita, where it said where the illusion comes from. Sarga yanti parantapa. From the beginning of time, we are illusioned. And then a small point to the three enemies, which are mentioned also, which are also in Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says they are lust, anger, and greed. Okay, but anger we spoke, lust also we spoke, greed is there too. And it's in the 16th chapter in the end, where it said these three, and actually it's quite powerful if you think about it. In the where is it? End of 16th chapter. 21, yeah. It said there are three gates leading to hell. Tri vidham narakasidam. And these are lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man and woman should give these up. No, it's not only the man. So we don't have to give it up. No, we all have to give it up. Right? There's no excuse. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Purport. The beginning of demonic life is described herein. The beginning of demonic life. This is how it starts, right? We are all nice, beautiful, happy people. But if you give in to lust, anger, and greed, your demonic life starts. You become a demon. This is how, if you want to make a career as a demon, here it's written. Yeah? This is how I can become a demon. One tries to satisfy lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demonic life must try to give up these three enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. So how can we give up lust, anger, and greed? Right? Lust, we give up in all of them you give up through Krishna consciousness, through a higher taste. But what is lust? Well, lust meaning I want to satisfy my senses, I want to enjoy myself, I want to enjoy others, I want to be enjoyed. Right? How we give this up? Yeah, we need a higher taste. Yeah, we need a higher taste, spiritual taste. We need enlightenment, spiritual knowledge, understanding to see where the lust resides. So where does the lust reside? Krishna is very nice. He gives in the... Where is this? In which chapter?
340.
Yeah. 3rd chapter. Krishna says, the lust resides in the mind, in the senses, and intelligence. And then Prabhupada in the purport explains that you have to understand where the enemy is hiding, right? Where the enemy, you have to find the enemy. So Krishna gives interesting information. Where does the lust reside? In the mind, in the senses, and in the intelligence. Yeah, the senses, they are lusty, they want to enjoy. Yeah, we are senses, they are dragging us. I always like the example of how the senses are dragging us like a dog. And a dog is interesting because a dog is really ruled by the nose. It's also the part of the body which is first. It's really there. Here. And whatever he smells, he runs. It's amazing. Whatever he smells, he runs. And watch the dog, and he runs, and you don't know where is he running. Why is he running? Where is he running? Because he smells something. And he runs, he runs like this, completely irrational. If you want to move from A to B, it's like a straight line, but not for a dog, He runs. He has to follow the nose, because he smells that, and here it is, and here it is, and here it is, and he runs, and the whole body, the rest of it, has to follow this small part, the nose, right? He's a slave of his nose. And similar, we are also like that if we are controlled by the senses. We have to go and do whatever the senses dictate, whatever the lust dictates. Okay, then the senses are not alone, there's also the mind. Actually following the mind. We are all following the mind. And if we cannot control the mind, we have to always follow the mind. We have to do what the mind says. We have to say what the mind says. We have to feel how the mind feels. It's all starting in the mind. He's the central element. So the uncontrolled mind is the enemy. Bandura atmatmanastasya yenatma vatmanacheta anatmanastu shatrote vartetat meva shatruvat. For one who can control his mind, the mind is his best friend. And if you fail to control the mind is your greatest enemy. The enemy is within. It has always been within. We always blame him, her, this, that. But the enemy is within. Yeah. So, so we are dictated by the senses and the mind, which is a terrible situation. Okay, so we have to learn to control the mind, learn to control the senses. We have to control this lust. So the lust is in the senses, it's in the mind, and also this is the worst part actually. The lust is also in the intelligence. Because you might say, okay, the lust is in the mind and in the senses. Okay, then I'm intelligent enough to control it. I use the facility of intelligence, which is above it. No, the lust can be so subtle, it can also be in intelligence. This is a problem, because how you free yourself when even your intelligence is contaminated. Your intelligence is corrupted by the lust. So we need the intelligence, because there's also pure intelligence. There's also pure mind and pure senses also. So that's why we need the facility of someone who is not corrupted, and lead us out also of this bewilderment of our lust. Because how do you know what is right and is wrong when we are so bewildered? So that's the reason why we need Shastra and Guru and all that. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. And that will lead us out of that. And then our intelligence gets purified. And then you can see it better in your mind and in your senses. And then get free. Okay. We have to get... So through the higher taste, through the Shastra, through the help of uncontaminated entities, we will come lust, anger, and greed in the end. Yeah. Greed also. Greed is never to satisfy. Never to satisfy. Where was it? I think Vamanadev said this. Vamanadev said to Bali. When Bali Maharaj said, "Oh, my dear Brahmana, I offer you a whole world, a whole loka, whatever you like. I want to serve you." And Vamana said, "No, I only need 3 steps of land. I'm content." And Bali was offended. "I'm the greatest king, I'm the king of the whole universe," more or less. I can offer you everything, you just want something, such a small thing from me? I said, yes. Because someone who cannot be satisfied with this, he will never be satisfied. If you give me 1 loka, I want another. And another, and another. Can never be satisfied. So we have to be content with what we really need, as Prabhupada says here in the purport. Yeah, we should not be greedy after unnecessary things. We should really understand what do I really need, because it will never be satisfied. I know it. I bought myself a car, and now I'm living opposite of a car dealer. And now my car looks kind of boring. My car looks kind of boring. when I see all these beautiful cars. I'm living opposite of it. I can see it every day. Krishna is putting it like in front of me. Like, what do you want? You want something? I said, yes, I would. This one I like, and this one, maybe both. So you will never be satisfied. If I would buy myself a better car, bigger, faster, stronger, there is another car which is better, faster, stronger, and it will never end. So we have to be content. You know, I was living for some time with my wife in my studio, and now we have a small flat. I say small flat. And now, yesterday, I was starting to think about a house. How must it be to have a house? You know? The mind, you know? Because you see all the houses there when we drive from here to there. All the people have big and nice houses. And we live in this, you know, little, it's nice, it's beautiful, it's clean, it's warm, but still, it's a flat. Why don't I have a house? Yeah? There's a big garden and all that. The mind is never satisfied. So we have to be content. I have, that what I have, I am happy with. This is what is given actually by Krishna. If Krishna gives you something, you then say, nice, but. No, don't say, nice, but. You say, thank you so much. It's very, ungrateful if someone gives you a nice present. It's your birthday, and someone gives you a present. And you open it, and you say, nice, it's a vacuum cleaner. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you that you think about me. It's a nice vacuum cleaner. Thank you. No, you have to be very happy. Thank you so much that you think about me. You're so nice. Yeah, we have to be content. We have to be content with, especially as devotees. Because we are Krishna's devotees and He gives us what we deserve. Isn't it? We should be happy if He gives you material and spiritual things. We should be happy, we should be content, and should not be greedy, and we shouldn't be envious. When we see the other one having more, on book distribution I experienced that so often. I was so often envious. Why can I not distribute so many books like him? Right? No, this is what Krishna gave me. This was my endeavor, this is my result. Why don't I have this and that, this and that? Why is he so advanced? Why is he so, respected and this and that? Yeah, we should be content. No, I'm a devotee of Krishna. I do my best as good as I can, and I'm grateful for whatever he gives me. Material and spiritual. Advancement, understanding, this and that. Those material things. Yeah, it's not easy, but this is what would help. Understand? Krishna is very merciful. He gives the right. And also if he gives negative things. We should also be grateful, but this is another topic. Yeah. Okay, so what we learned today, Prabhupada explains the reason for our material existence is given in the verse 27 of the 7th chapter, that the illusion started right at the beginning through the duality of Icha and Dvesha. Desire, I want, and Dvesha, I don't want, I hate. This is the delusion. And then it was further explained about lust, anger, and greed, that these are the 3 gates to hell, and they're also mentioned in this episode. They're mentioned by the Kumaras. And that we should really work on them to become Krishna conscious. As Prabhupada says, if someone has this, he cannot go to Vaikuntha. Okay, thank you so much. Any questions, comments? Yes, please. Mataji.
I have a question. I think it was in the last verse where it kind of came through that, Jai and Vijay, they felt that the 4 Kumaras were making a threat to the spiritual world, but no, everything is in harmony there, and so on. So then one may ask, why is there a necessity for doorkeepers at all?
Yes, I also wondered about that. because they...
Because I mean, doorkeepers are meant to do their job, you know?
Exactly.
But then when they do their job, they're accused of
Yeah.
not being on the spiritual platform and discriminating and being on the platform of duality.
Yeah.
You know, so why are there doorkeepers at all?
Yeah. I read yesterday, also in this part of Bhagavatam by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I parallel read both texts, and I just remember one thing where the Kumars said, I don't know if it was in this verse or another one, where the Kumars asked, why do you think you have to protect the Lord? So similar.
Yes.
They said, why do you think you have to protect the Lord? You know, the Lord is all powerful, and you know, the spiritual. Why are you so in illusion? And so they make the same point. The Kumaras also make the same point. Why are you here, actually? In one sense. Huh? So in general, it's difficult to understand because no one can enter the spiritual world with having material consciousness anyway. You cannot get out. So in how we understand that the queens in Dwarka are wiping dust and things like this, there is no dust. So in one sense I could understand there's a principle of the opulence of the spiritual world and its seva, and of course can some enemy attack now the spiritual world, there comes the army and they have to fight it because they're the doorkeepers, as you say. But I think in general they are more like it's the opulence, it's the seva, you know, to greet people, to show the opulent Vaikuntha world and all that. And just in case if someone comes, but nobody can come, and nobody can come. Interesting thing, so I cannot answer your question, definitely, I cannot answer it. So, but one interesting thing I read yesterday, but this is something one has to research, I just read through on the internet, that there was a discussion on this topic, and that it was said, but someone can research, that the Madhvas and Ramanujas say that this happened in the material world, in the Vaikuntha, in the material world, like Shvetadvip or something like this. So, however they come to that, but that would be that could be easy to understand, that someone can go there in being in the material world, because you cannot go to the Vaikuntha through all the layers of the universe, and it's a different description. When Krishna flies with Arjuna through the universe, there's a description of how they fly through the tanmatras and the elements and the layers of the universe. So, of course, it was not mentioned here, doesn't mean that did not happen. But anyway, they have a take on that too. And I always wondered with Durvasa Muni, how could he go to Vishnu? But as far as I know, he was in the material world. Or also Narakasura, not Narakasura, was Vrikasura, when he was running after Shiva. As far as I understood, it was also in the material world. It was not in beyond, so to say, because Krishna has a kind of his embassy as Shvetadvip in the material world. Our Acharyas were not, I was looking, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was not saying it, Prabhupada was not saying it, so I don't know, but could be also an interesting point to understand it a bit better. So, whatever it may be, in general, there are kind of a couple of points in this Leela where you wonder. But the question you raise is the principle, how can kind of material things be in the spiritual world? It's always the same question. In this Leela, this is more the issue. How can there be anger? How can there be a discussion? How can there be a curse? How can there be a fall? Actually, Yudhishthira Maharaj in the 7th canto asked Narada Muni, how could it happen? Right? How could there be a fall? So again, the fall story. So in general, there are many principles of question there.
At the other gates, are there also doorkeepers?
Yeah, there are also doorkeepers.
So how come they got through?
Yeah. As far as I understood, this is the last door. This is the other doors where, so in one sense, they were not in Vaikuntha itself. They are still at the entrance, and there are 6 gates. But
at the other gates, there's also doorkeepers.
Yeah, there's also doorkeepers.
But they...
Some or other, maybe they were not minding so much.
Sleeping or something.
Maybe they're sleeping, but I think Jai and Vijay, they are the 7th gate, and it's the last. Yeah. And when you enter this, you are in Vaikuntha. So they were not in Vaikuntha. Yeah. More I cannot say. Okay, something else? Yes, Prabhu?
You mentioned quite a few times the quality of devotees which you're supposed to have, or some of them have already, being content. So where's the borderline with the contentness turning into the complacency?
Content and complacent, huh? Yeah, I would say complacent means
satisfied with his own position, being lazy,
lazy.
not desiring development.
I would say the one is for Krishna, the one is for the self, for the ego. We should be content for ourselves, that we are happy with that, what we get, that we understand this is what I need. We should be happy for what I need. And that's it. I shouldn't strive for more for myself. But we shouldn't be complacent for Krishna. For Krishna, we should be very active and very, having great visions and thinking big and wanting to achieve a lot. I think this is the distinction, right? We want to do for Krishna many big things and wonderful things and have many things. We shouldn't be, content with our small temple or this and that, or 5 books or this and that. We want to just with thousands of books, have big temples and many devotees. But for Krishna we can be always uncontent, incontent. We should be never satisfied with our gains in devotional service, either in the mission or in our spiritual life. I meant actually with content, being more content with more kind of the material things, what I need, right, to be happy. Okay, not that I'm content now with my 16 rounds or this understanding of Krishna, not in that way. There we should always strive for more realization, for more understanding, for more bhakti in general, right? There we should never be content, but more.
There's always this excuse that I need more things than Krishna.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That is tricky, of course. There we have to really be wise and mature to really understand what do I really need and what is not necessary, of course, right. There we have to be smart and practical.
We have to accept guidance, from more experienced devotees. They can see more easily whether we need something or not in Krishna's service, but we ourselves often cannot see.
Yes, also, need guidance, ask the devotees. Yeah, when I started my project, I suddenly needed so many things, and sometimes I might not have needed it, maybe. This camera, this objective, this, that. Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah, you can come into a rush. Oh, okay, this I need, that I need. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Yukta Vairagya, it's dangerous. The danger of Yukta Vairagya. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Wenn ihr mehr wissen wollt über die transzendentale Wissenschaft des Krishna-Bewusstseins, dann kann ich euch den Bhakti Club empfehlen. Wir haben nun eine neue Plattform, auf der ich exklusive Inhalte anbiete, wie Videos und Kurse und eine digitale Sadhu-Sanga. Geht einfach auf www.bhakti-club.de und registriert euch dort. Dann könnt ihr Einlass bekommen in eine spirituelle, digitale Welt. Ich freue mich auf eure Gemeinschaft. Hare Krishna.